Hi, you're live with Color Energy, and I'm your host, Today, we're going to be talking about how to read the colors of the organs. Now, I've been doing aura analysis for over 20 years now, so I consider myself an expert. Today, we're going to be talking about what holistic medicine is, how to read the colors of the aura, what the different colors mean. So we've got lots of things that we're going to be covering today. Now, first, I wanted to talk a little bit about the body, mind, and spirit connection. We know that we're more than just our thoughts. And in fact, we're also our bodies, we're our emotions, we are our intellect, we are our spirit. So everything encompassing is what creates our whole. It gives us our identity, it gives us our influence on our health, and literally the essence of who we are. Now, when we are consciously aware of our body, mind, and spirit connection, we literally can do anything that we want in life, because when we are whole, we're phenomenal. It's when something's out of whack, when something's blocked, when something's congested, that we end up having pain, problems, and other issues that relate to the chakras, that relate to our energy, that relate to our attitudes. And daily, we are challenged by numerous things. Think about it. We have our environmental challenges. If we're in an atmosphere that doesn't have, fresh air, maybe we're breathing in recycled air, or we're in a warehouse that has, free-floating molecules that are polluted. I remember I worked in a printing company and there was ink floating in the air. And at the end of the day, when I blew my nose, I would literally blow black. Can you imagine all the years of abuse on my lungs relating to that? So we have to look at our environment. We have to look at our diet. When we eat good food, live food, we're going to feel alive. But when we eat dead food like chips or crackers, that's not energy for our body. So we have to have an abundance of good food. How we slept the night before, that influences our energy. I know when I don't have a good night's sleep, I'm dragging my butt the next day. So come on, we need to have that 7 or 8 hours of sleep. That's also the time for our body to repair itself. The amount of water that we drink, it's important to stay hydrated, because waters and the minerals in our body create the electricity, the electrolyte activity that actually charges our body as well as our brain. When people don't have enough hydration in their brain, you're going to feel brain dead. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel like forgetful. Things aren't going to be connecting to you as fast. So we need to drink an abundance of water. Now, one of the things, when we know our own energy and we know how we're affected by these different things, sometimes we could even use energy tools to get us back to where we want to go very quickly. I'm consciously aware of my energy. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I say to myself, now, what are my energy needs for the day? What do I need that's going to make my day successful? Most people, they just roll out of bed and they take their shower and they eat their breakfast, but they don't plan for their energy needs for the day. I know when I'm going to be communicating, whether it's in a classroom environment or here we are live, whatever I am doing, I need to make sure that my blue energy is strong and intact. Because if my blue energy isn't supported, my communication abilities are dampened. They're weak. And in fact, there's things I've learned over, the last 20, 30 years that really have helped me understand, for example, what colors I should wear, what foods I should eat, what oils should I smell, what do I need to do to have a strong and healthy day. So this is how I start my day. I think about my energy needs. Super easy. Now, because of the fact I work here at Color Energy, it makes it super easy for me, because if I know I need red, I know I've got all these beautiful red smelling oils and essences I could put on my red glasses. I could do anything, in regards to stimulating my different senses. Plus, the more senses I stimulate, the more tools I use, I'm literally amping up the energy. It is said that when you do one modality, it's the power of one. When you do two, it actually starts to amplify and it becomes the power of three. When you do three things simultaneously on an energetic level, it becomes the power of 10. And again, it just continues. When you do five things, it's like the power of 100. When you do six things, it's the power of thousands. Things start to multiply very quickly when you do things simultaneously on the same frequency level. And this is what we do here at Color Energy. All our oil concoctions, all our essences are intertwined with so many different energy forms, layers and layers of the same frequency in a color product. So we know that when you're using one of our color tools, you're getting, for example, with our essential oils, you're not just getting the flower power of one plant, you're getting the flower power of multiple plants, which again, synergistically can work stronger. There's no point of using an oil when it's mixed with a red vibration and a blue vibration and an indigo vibration. What are you going to get? You're going to get a frequency that is tainted and not pure. And so therefore the end result isn't going to be as strong. So one of my best pieces of advice for you is when you're working on strengthening your energy, keep the energy clean. Don't cross-contaminate. Don't do multiple colors at one time, because then you'll never understand the power of color healing. Now, when we can't or we don't keep the energy balanced, then blockages can form. So the definition of blockage, I'm on page 3 here. An energy block is something that stands in the way of your action and effort, a restriction of the flow of your life force. Okay. And another definition of energy blockage is major stresses of wounding that create blockages, which in turn manifest eventually as a physical illness. And this is one of the things that we actually know, that when we have an unresolved emotional issue, and it could be from when we were a toddler, that this can be carried forward in our life. And this creates our imbalances in our body, mind, and spirit. Now, a blockage is also the term used when a chakra is not functioning well, and it creates a variety of difficulties. And this is one of the things I have studied in, actually I've been doing this for over 28 years, but specifically aura analysis for 21. So I'm accumulating a lot of research. And what I have seen is when a chakra is not functioning at its healthy or optimal level, what happens is we attract life circumstances. And in fact, you'll notice I put a picture of a plunger here because I wanted to signify that when a chakra is plugged up, that literally all this muck and all this tainted pollution can, manifest and then create havoc within your body, mind, and spirit. Now, energetic blockages are energies that are often associated with emotions, consciousness, and subconscious thoughts, as well as your spiritual awareness, that prevents your energy from free flowing. So based on the above definitions, doesn't it stand to reason that we treat an energy blockage with an energy solution? And this is how easy it is, because again, when you start to understand your energy matrix, your energy system, your lifestyle choices, all these different factors will help you to decipher what color frequencies you may need to bring in order to get to that harmonious state. And we're going to talk a little bit about the definition of energy medicine, because energy medicine has been defined as a branch of allopathic and complementary therapies that include the study of therapeutic applications in subtle energies. Now, until I started working with the biopulsar, there was no device on the market that I was aware of that could actually measure subtle energy. There's a lot of diagnostic devices that are out there that are measuring only on the physical level. And there's a lot of so-called energy devices that measure on an energetic level, but there's no tangible proof. There's nothing to tie it in. And my opinion is, if you can't substantiate the facts, then how do you know it's real? It's easy enough to say, oh my goodness, you have an energy blockage in the heart, which I've been told in the past, with intuitives and other people, that I had certain chakras that weren't as strong as others. Or, I've even been told that, I had preconditions for different, possible illnesses. Well, my belief is everybody has a precondition of a possible illness. It's the way you take care of yourself. Okay. And also, similarly, every day my energies can change, they can shift. So one day, maybe I will have a little bit of an issue with a chakra or an organ based on what I did that day, that morning, as well as throughout the last 24 hours. So there's a lot of factors that change when it comes to subtle energy. And until the biopulsar reflexograph, I had no idea about the interconnection of our organs, of our brain, of our chakra flow, of all these different factors until I had the tangible proof in front of me. And it's undeniable tangible proof. This technology is cutting edge medical technology. And for those of you who know Edgar Cayce, he even predicted that there was going to be a medical device that would be, exposed to the world that would measure the aura of the organs. And this is what we're talking about today. So for centuries, Western medicine has investigated the body's internal systems from organs and cells to understanding the hormones and other physical factors. Now, while modern medicine focuses primarily on the physiology and how the human organism has many aspects that generate and absorb massive amounts of information. Incredible. And it also interacts with its environment via ambient fields such as light, sound, electricity, magnetism, and all other living organisms. And living organisms are, the food that we eat. Think about it. When we pluck a fresh fruit or vegetable off a tree, we're eating a living organism. When we eat seaweed right from the ocean, we're eating a living organism. The more live food we eat, the more conducive it is to our energy. And by receiving these various forms of energy, the organs can carry out their processes of life. Because if we do not feed our internal organs, our endocrine glands, our brain, what do you think the end result is going to be? We're not going to have the brain power. We're not going to have the life energy. We're going to suffer in certain organs and glands. As soon as I have a little ache or pain in my body, not only am I using the biopulsar to help me pinpoint where the problem is, but I start to self-diagnose, and I always think about my sister. One time she, called me up and she said, I've got pain in my foot. And I said, left or right foot? She told me what foot. I said, where in your foot? Is it the top of the foot, the middle of the foot, the bottom of the foot, the base where the heel is? And what we did is we zeroed into where it was exactly on her foot, and then the associated aspects that connect with it. So just to give you a little tidbit of what I do, when the pain is on the left side of the body, it's emotional because it's the right brain that's governing the left side of the body, and vice versa. So I was able to nail whether it was a mental issue, an emotional issue, and where the location on the foot was gave me indication of what we needed to do. And this was without using technology. Our body is a map into different energy gateways. So for example, our spine indicates our energy of all our organs and gland, the top of our skull, our hand. We have all the reflex zones on our hand. The base of our feet, the bottom of our feet also contain all the reflex zones. There are so many gateways into the internal organs that are expressed on the surface of our body. So we can do a lot of assessment just by understanding the body connection. Now, that's another class. Now, light is the most important energy form for all living organisms, and light consists of a range of the 7 color frequencies. Thus, color vibrational energy medicine is the ultimate form of healing in my books. And in fact, I want to quote Professor Fitz Albert Popp on the next page here. We are still on the threshold of fully understanding the complex relationship between light and life. But now we can say emphatically that the function of our entire mechanism is dependent on life. Now, what he meant by this was our cells emit a light quanta and they receive light quanta. And through the language of color, through the language of light, we can actually heal. Now, there's a little bit of catch up here because in alternative medicine, we have known for millennia that natural forms of healing that are from nature are God's gifts to us for self-repair. But somewhere along the line, we put science ahead of the game. And so then science started creating, inorganic formulations to not heal the body, but to put a Band-Aid on it. And so when we think about these things, we have to go back to nature. We have to go back to the simplicity of life. This is what is detrimental to our health. We've got to think about nature's backyard and, using nature's tool to help us self-heal. And without sunlight, we wouldn't even exist. Plants wouldn't exist. Animals wouldn't exist because it is sunlight that is our main primary source of energy. And what a lot of people don't understand when we're talking about color and light, our pituitary gland, which is our master controller, our master gland, takes in the signals of light. And what it does is it redistributes those light frequencies to the various organs and glands within our body that need that power of that specific color frequency. We already know that the red frequency supports our adrenal glands. So when our adrenals are fatigued, we need the red color intelligence to actually help support the adrenals. And when you start getting into the world of color, you will recognize foods like red cabbage, red radishes support the adrenal glands. And all these different color foods, have you ever wondered why they're colored? It's because of the wavelength that's contained in them, not just the nutritional value, but the color frequency. Everything on the planet is actually color coded, and our body sends out signals of color frequencies. And people say to me, well, why do we have an aura? Well, if we didn't have an aura, we wouldn't know what to work on, because literally it's the totality of our energy matrix, our energy system, that when it works in unison, it creates white light, because all colors combined in equality make white light. Just like the sun comes to us as white light and can be redistributed into the different colors, when we are complete, when we are whole, when our vibrations are working together, we create white light and we feel enlightened. And this is my truth, to share with you that we need color to help create or balance our own internal energy matrix with the colors that are needed and necessary to create that harmony and balance. So what does a color in an organ mean? Now, we look at thermography, and this is a science that is accepted in the hospitals, but they don't assess typically the heat signature or the temperature signature of individual organs. They're measuring the heat that's emitted from the body. But through this, they can deduce where the masses are. And often it's in the color red, because red is a lower vibration. And again, as you get more color educated, you'll understand that red is mass. It is solid. It is heavy. It is concentrated. And it is also heat and aggression. Red can mean a lot of things physically. And in thermography, they look at that. Now, of course, thermography is different than the biopulsar. The biopulsar is a different type of medical device, but nonetheless, it shows the physical connection in that color frequency. Now, what I do is I train practitioners to understand what the colors mean in the organs, so this way we can go beyond the physical examination of the medical system. Because this is what we do, is we're examining on a medical level, but we're not tying in the holisticness of the the mind and the spirit and the emotions to the physical body. This is what's missing. And in fact, a lot of times with alternative practitioners, they're not really going into the holisticness of a person as well as that they should or could, based on their limited capabilities of maybe measuring or, working on that counseling level. So the biopulsar measures the organ vitality and it displays it in a more precise, format so we can actually see the colors of the organs. Now, the woman who created this technology, she was gifted with medical clairvoyance and she could actually see the colors of the organs. She saw, the colors that are part of our aura. She saw this, and still can see the spinning, chakras. She sees those levels on a multidimensional, level. Unlike most humans, we literally sense through our 5 sensory organs. When we eat food, we can taste the sensation of the food, the texture of the food, the flavor of the food. We can hear, we can smell, we can see, we can touch. We have all our 5 senses. But what is the 6th sense all about? It's about perceiving multidimensionally. And there's different levels of clairvoyant abilities. They're clairaudience and clairsentient that perceives on those multiple dimensions beyond what our typical 5 senses are. And so we can see into the aura, like X-ray vision based on our level of clairvoyant ability. Now, I rely on technology. I'm very intuitive, and this is what has helped me refine my intuition is by working with technology that shows the aura, that shows the organ connection, and shows the chakras. And this has been the basis of my study and research. I've studied over 20,000 auras, which of course encompasses the colors of the organs. So the language and color connection to the organs. Everything that is alive resonates a frequency. And you can see an aura around every living thing. And sometimes you can see the aura around, different living things just at a glance. You'll see it as a blue glow. Sometimes you might see snippets of color. It depends on, how advanced you are or how much you apply yourself to, interpretation of different things. But every living thing beats. It literally is like a heartbeat out of our body. Our heart beats a frequency. Our lungs expand and contract. Our brain waves have frequencies. So this emanation, this pulse is often called a life force. And humans emit these various frequencies because every organ has its own pulse, every gland has its own pulse, and our brain has various brain waves. And there's different areas of our brain. Again, this is all science. We have the back brain, the forehead brain, the temporal brain, the midbrain, the cerebellum, the cerebrum. We have all these brain parts, and all these different brain parts vibrate their own frequencies. But when we look at the study of the brain, they're now just clumping it into 5 different frequencies that our brain can emit. On our technology, we see beyond the 5. We see the 7 colors, plus we see white. We can see when there's the frequency not so strong. So I'm also analyzing the brain and the various colors. And it's the totality of all these moving parts that constitute our essence. And so this is why when we look at organ diagnosis from that color perspective, and we can see the different vibrating frequencies of color, we literally have the key of that organ, the mood, the emotion, the attitude, the health issues. All this is in the color coding. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, what happens with organs. And I always refer to the liver because it's an easy organ to understand. But if we take, for example, if the liver is weak, then what will happen is that other organs within its network will try to pick up the pace of the dysfunctional organ. So they'll go into hyperactivity so the weak organ can rest. So when we understand that sometimes, all our organs work as a symphony and they have to work in harmony with each other, that, it's harder for an organ to compensate for a weaker one, but it gives that organ time to repair itself. And by assessing the colors of the organs, we can see the patterns. So when I'm looking at a client's aura, or even my own aura for that matter, because I love the biopulsar, because it actually is a mirror of my own energy when I do my own analysis, I'm looking at corresponding colors. So if I see a dark red, maybe I'm upset about something, and I see that, dark red in my brain, and I see it all of a sudden highlighting in my liver or in my kidney, and it's exactly the same color frequency and numerical value. I know the pattern of consciousness between that brain part, that organ, whatever it is, whatever color is matching, it's a pattern. The next thing I look at is if an organ is weak or is it hyperactive, and how it represents itself either in the meridian system or in, the organ system. So for example, if I'm looking at the respiratory system and I see that the heart is having some issues, maybe the person's a shallow breather, maybe they're living in a toxic environment, that they have a lot of pollution in their chest, I'm looking at, okay, the heart is working harder. So what about the lungs? What about the esophagus? What about the duodenum? So I'm looking at a system network that pertains to the respiratory system to see how far it's traveled, and if there's more than one organ that it's connected to. The colors also show us not just that weakness, but if it's overactive, if it's polluted. We even see poison in color. We see chemotherapy. We see inflammation. We see pain. The colors mean all these different things. Now, our emotions, our mentality, and our spiritual attitudes are shown in color. Okay? Now, both conventional medicine and alternative medicine do recognize that our body stores emotions, that our organs can be affected, or our organ health can be affected by our emotions. Now, emotions are strong feelings derived from life learning lessons, circumstances, moods, relationship with others. There's a lot of things that build up our personality, our beliefs, our thinking patterns, our habits, etc. A feeling can be also an idea or a belief that's often learned, a learned process or an intuitive response. We all know the difference between right and wrong, I think. Some better than others. As well, we all have had our own learning. We're all raised in our own environment. So there's a lot of things that create our beliefs, that create our judgments, that create our thought processing. So our reactions are based on these different, emotional states that we've gone through in our life. However, it's understood that one's physical health mirrors their emotional health, their mental health, and their spiritual health, what is referred to as their psychical health, and the person's emotions, mind, and spirit. So seeing the aura colors, and more importantly, the individual colors of the organs, we get more concrete evidence, more fact, more of an awareness of what's hidden, what's forgotten, what's repressed. What are our life experiences? Often when I look at something and I see it as a weakness or a problem in somebody, the first thing I do is find out if they have any health concerns in regards to that issue. Because if they do, then again, they're understanding the evidence of what I'm showing them. Then by actually, illustrating to them that color connection and what it can mean on that emotional, mental, and spiritual level, we're going into the self-discovery of the programming. So the color language tells us that information. So a lot of this is developed at a young age when we're most impressionable. So since much of our programming and beliefs are developed at that time, any resolved emotions can be stored in our organs, which can create these so-called energy blockages. And in similarity, we can see the negative emotions that keep replaying in our life, and often it's unknowing. we don't have that awareness. And this is why self-analysis of our aura and specifically our organs give us a lot of psychosomatic information into things. So how do we interpret the aura colors? Okay, well, the different colors in our body actually illustrate the different constitutions. Okay, and these different constitutions are illustrating our health state as well as that emotional mental condition. So what I did here is I put some examples together for you. When we see green in the aura, that's the state of balance. That's normal, healthy energy. Now we also have an optimal energy, which is resonating in turquoise. And then the different colors tell us the different integrations. So when we look at red, it's below normal. And if you think of the rainbow, it goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, with green being right in the middle. Now on opposite ends, we have below red, it's gray, and above the violet is white. So all these different colors mean something, but green is balance. It's good physical health, it's good emotional health, it's good mental health, and it's good spiritual health. Where when it's red, then it's indicating that it is extreme hypoactivity, which could lead to a poor attitude, such as impracticality. And I always think about, how much we're connected on that body, mind, and spirit level by the things we do in life. How aware are we? And when our brain, for example, is resonating a lower frequency, then we'll be more forgetful, we'll be less observant of what's going on, within our life. So this takes us into other things like, having a poor attitude, weak physical health, and even pain in some cases. On an emotional level, we might have the lower emotions of anger, irritation, agitation. Lower spiritual values will feel disconnected from life or disconnected from our spiritual values, where when we are strong in our spiritual convictions and beliefs, we'll feel connected to spirit on this physical planet. I always tell everyone, without your physical body, you wouldn't have a spiritual experience. So you have to take care of your physical body. Your root chakra needs to be as important as your crown chakra. And sometimes we put emphasis on the crown and not the root energy. Now, I was talking about colors in the organ language, so when an organ is in a lower frequency like orange, yellow, red, or even gray, which is absence of energy, it means that organ is sick or weak. And, I think of grass. When grass is not watered regularly, if it's not fed nutrition, it will turn gray. It'll actually go through the processes of green, yellow, orange, a tainted red, brown, and then eventually, the grass will be dead and it will have that great, tone to it. Similarly, in our body goes through different phases. And again, I'm going to talk about the liver, because if the liver is not being supported with a good diet, then the toxicity that's coming in and the function of the liver to process the food, it's not getting good nutrition, and it's doing its best to process what it can out of the diet that the house owner is consuming. But eventually, if the liver gets too backed up and the gallbladder, which is the backup system, is also backed up, all that toxicity gets dumped into our blood. And that causes more havoc. And this toxicity is prime parasite food. So we actually see the degradation of the color of an organ going from that healthy green state and going through, just like grass, yellow, orange, red, and gray. And then eventually that liver will take a vacation and other organs will work overtime. But if the diet isn't improved, then what happens is all these other organs that are supporting the liver will also start to plummet and go down in energy. And this is when, the toxicity starts getting too heavy in the body and more problems result. And it can be, confusion, forgetfulness, negative traits are expressed, which then can, relieve into excesses and cause pain and problems in the body. Okay, now let's go into the color scale, because time goes by so quickly when we're doing a class. So I wanted to show you some of the characteristics of the different colors, and I'm going to just jump into sort of the colors of the rainbow, even though, as I mentioned, beyond violet, we have magenta, scarlet, white. The different hues that we see in the organs give us different, qualities of physicality as well as mentality, emotionality, and spirituality. But let's just talk about the violet. Now, when we see violet in an organ, it means that organ is slightly hyperactive, not as hyperactive as white would be. However, nonetheless, hyperactivity. It also can be congested energy, overworked energy, and on a mental and emotional level, it is that visionary energy. It's a creative energy. It's inspirational. It's spiritual minded, as well as introspection, good judgment, all seeing. And on the negative side, though, it could also mean a spaciness, because if somebody's brain, for example, is too full of visionary ideas, then it's hard to actually move forward when you have so many thoughts coming and you're not action orientated. So when I'm looking at the colors of the organs, I'm also looking at the chakra flow and how the different organs are being supported. Now, on a spiritual level, it is knowledge, and it's the I knowledge, a knowingness, a spiritual awareness, a spiritual self-awareness, an openness, enlightenment, and a knowingness. When we go to indigo, because indigo is slightly below the violet, then a lot of the attributes are very similar. And in fact, indigo comprises of blue and red, more on the blue side. So the characteristics are slightly more towards the blue intelligence, versus the violet is 50% blue and 50% red. So it has a little bit more flavor of the red. But indigo is, our spiritual energy on an intuitive side. On an emotional side, it's, an empathetic energy. On, a mental side, it is, somebody who has a lot of ideas. They're almost like that. It's like that inventing energy. On a spiritual level, it is that soul energy. Now, blue is also slightly hyperactive, but again, it's not as hyperactive as indigo, which is not as hyperactive as violet, which is not as hyperactive as magenta or pink or white. You kind of get my drift there, I hope. So blue is also a slightly high physical energy, and because blue is connected to the thyroid, and again, there's a lot to understand about the colors, the organs, the system networks, the chakra flow. This takes years of study. And so this is one of the reasons why, if you want to get more educated, we have a lot of ways to, assist you in your educational, journey. But blue is, related to excessive sweat, perspiration. Now, on a mental level, it's holistic thoughts. On an emotional level, it's an openness. It's, being in touch with one's emotion on that spiritual side. It is that I speak aspect of the spirituality. And we're going to jump over turquoise because we're going to just stick to the main 7 colors. Green, as I mentioned, is that neutral energy. And on a health level, it is balance. On a mental, emotional level, it's about love, compassion, and, it's also that friendly energy. On the negative, it could be a little bit wishy-washy. And I'm just kind of throwing in a bunch of different, characteristics, both on the positive and negative side. And like everything, there is a balance. And to understand how to create balance, you do have to understand the negativity aspect of it. Like when I'm, in my yellow intelligence, which I'm predominant in, if I get a little bit too judgmental or a little bit too critical, I have to understand that that's part of my solar plexus yellow energy. And I also have to understand how to quickly balance it. So sometimes I might use green because I need that compassionate and loving energy, or sometimes I just need to talk to my yellow intelligence. So green is that unconditional love for, self as well as others, family, friends, humanity. Now, yellow is the mental phase of exhaustion. So therefore, when you use too much yellow mentally, you will feel physically exhausted. Now, on an emotional level, yellow is, everything to do with thoughtfulness. It's a strong, independent energy. It's also very optimistic, and, it can be very headstrong. And on a spiritual level, it's the ego energy. And it's not the selfishness of the ego, but the selflessness. Okay. Orange, that is an emotional energy physically. It is also a lower frequency. And again, if we look at the opposite end, it goes from green to yellow to orange to red and eventually to gray, which is absence of energy, because as we go through the frequencies, they start to get lower and slower. Okay. So orange is to do with water imbalance. It's mucus building, acidic in nature. Emotionally, it's everything to do with your physical emotions. And mentally, it is so creative. And on a spiritual level, it is enthusiastic or enthusiasm for life. Now, red is the physical energy of exhaustion. It's burnout, literally. When I see red in my spine, I know that I'm tired physically. It's like running and running and running and running and not being able to catch up. You just get physically exhausted. Emotionally and mentally, it is your passions. It's your practicality of thoughts, because you're dealing with reality. So it has a lot to do with practicality. And on the spiritual level, I mentioned this earlier, it is the your existence on this physical planet as a spiritual being. And again, this class, we can only cover so much. So on to the next page here. So this is what I see when I look at my biopulsar aura scan. I can see the individual breakdown of the colors and the patterns. So you'll see that there's, some organs like the rectum, the urethra, the bladder, the spine, the pelvis, as well as the hip that are in the orange hue. However, the oranges are shifting. They're all emotional in nature, and they're all within the water, the water system. So when it comes to the networks, it would have to do with your water organs, the urinary system, et cetera, et cetera. So the orange color is also a water color. So isn't that interesting? We're seeing a lot of orange in the water network, which is also located in the sacral center. So that has also a lot to do with that emotional component. So we can see a lot of similarity. This is telling me that this person is being very emotional in regards to their emotions. Literally, we see a lot of harmony, a lot of turquoises and greens within the organ dynamics. We're also seeing some yellows that are tainted with green, which is indicating that yellow intelligence with a flavor of, humanitarian aspects or, loving aspects. Now, in the brain, I'm seeing a high state of consciousness. I'm seeing 3 brain frequencies in white. This tells me that this person has a high state of consciousness, and we can see also high spiritual colors like the indigo, like the violet, the pink, as well as this, very beautiful blue energy. It's kind of like a very spiritual blue. So this tells me this person has a high spiritual consciousness. Now, I'm not talking about the chakras today, but I can also let you know, because of my decades of aura and chakra research, this person's brow and crown chakra would have been exceedingly high as well. So we can see the high spiritual consciousness with the colors. Now, where I see a little bit of pain and problem is in the small intestine. It is a little bit of a tainted red, and that would tell me that that person has a bit of an inability to absorb their nutrition because the energy is too weak. And so therefore we can see the descending colon is overactive, and actually when it's in white, it could mean poisoning. So therefore, that person could have little pinholes in their descending colon where the toxicity is actually getting through what is referred to as leaky gut. And, again, there's a lot of things I can decipher from seeing the different colors. Now, when I'm looking at people's auras, The biopulsar is an empirical method to test products, to test treatments, not only to diagnose and assess the psychological aspects, but I can see here in this picture, for example, that when I did a before and after of doing a green color bath, we saw the cerebrum, the temporal brain, the back of the head actually balance out more. Although the cerebellum went higher, the brain can house high states of consciousness, but we see the arms came stronger, more in balance, the upper legs, the sacral center. I wanted to throw a little bit of chakra stuff in here. The sacral center, the root chakra, also became very strong. So what do we do when we have an energy imbalance? This is where color energy products come in. And of course, I have to always share with you about the beauty of our products, because simply, this is an example of a before and after of when I did a green color bath. So I wanted to share with people the importance of our different energy tools. Color bath is a visual tool where it stimulates your sense of eyesight, which again, your eyes are very connected to the pituitary gland, which is a master gland. So immediately the signals of whatever color you're bathing in is going via your pituitary gland, and then the signals are sent throughout your different body areas. And your body is a matrix of energy frequencies. And so therefore, when you're using one color frequency, it travels in your body and it goes all over the place. So literally, if I use the red vibration, whether I'm using a red essential oil or bathing in the red color bath, all of a sudden, that red frequency is traveling to my brain, to my adrenals, to wherever it needs to travel to for healing. And this is about the law of resonance. Whatever organ is resonating at an incorrect frequency, when you bring in one solid vibration, what's going to happen is eventually it will create that resonance and the organs will start swinging in their correct frequency. And color energy has all these wonderful tools. Color bath. I also talk a lot about cleansing your aura, because that is important to me, because often, there's different congestion within your body dynamics. So one of my favorite products is Aura Cleanser, and it's as simple as spraying above your head and just allowing the energy to flow. So again, this is how easy it is. Just spray a couple squirts above your head, let the molecules of this incredible alchemy essence that's been embedded with crystals and sound and color frequency, planetary alignment, sacred geometry, all these different energy forms that connect to the color vibration. We also have essential oils, and you'll see all kinds of products behind me that resonate the different frequencies. And it's as simple as saying, I need red because my root chakra is weak, or I, need energy because I'm going to be doing a lot of physical chores today. Or maybe I need red energy because I'm dealing with a family issue, or maybe I'm dealing with red because I'm dealing with a monetary issue, a financial issue, in my own business. Whatever it is, if you know what color you need, you simply just pick up one of the tools that you see at colorenergy.com shop. I should actually say colorenergyshop.com, and we have all these wonderful healing tools for you. Now, if you would like to learn more about color healing, we have this incredible course, and we simply call it Color Energy, and it is a correspondence course. You receive it by email. You also get a little product package, and what you're doing is you're working through one color frequency at a time. And the beauty of it is, by working with one color frequency at a time for a whole week, you're learning how that color affects your body, mind, and spirit. And you have to journal, and there's all kinds of assignments in this course. So I wanted to share with you that we do have that education for you. As well, we have other courses that teach you about different dynamics. And because we've now gone live, we're going to be doing a lot more education live as well. We do have Zoom classes that will be coming up that will be teaching you about how you can become a medical intuitive, how you can, support your chakras, nutrition in your aura. So all kinds of, wonderful programs. Now, if you're new to color energy, I really appreciate the fact that you've joined this event or you found this, YouTube video. I hope you'll, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe to our Facebook. We have Twitter. We're, all over the place. So, I encourage you to, when you subscribe and click our little bell on YouTube, that you'll be told of upcoming events. And if you're on our Facebook as well, we'll be posting all our live upcoming events. So now that brings us to the end of today's program. So if you have any questions, I am available for a few minutes to answer any of your questions. Okay, so question. Oh, wow. Yes, that would be awesome. Somebody saying that they have their biopulsar pictures throughout the years and with the organ measurements as well. Yeah, absolutely. Because, obviously I use the technology and I'm a believer of it. And I have lots of people that, get regular scans with, biopulsar owners that are in their area. So yes, please, share this. Oh, Andrea, hello. Good to see you. Yes, to me, it's important to monitor and track your progress because as you see different things in regards to your energy shifts, you start to get more familiar. And, sometimes we think we know ourselves, but we don't really know ourselves. I remember doing an assessment of someone who, I was telling them some of their attributes, some of their characteristics that I was observant of in our discussions. And they were saying, no, that's not me. That's not me. And, I said, if you actually go to your family and friends and ask them if you have these tendencies, I'm sure they'll tell you the truth. And I love when I say that to clients because they come back and they go, Suzanne, I learned a lot, from our session. And, I chatted with, my family and friends and, they told me, yep, that's me. I'm just going to have to put on my glasses here so I can read more. Oh, yes. Thank you for joining today and being here live. And if Andrea, if you're able to show your different pictures, I'd love to see that. Thanks for all the kudos of joining here. Thank you for learning. I was having some closed classes for some of my biopulsar owners, and today we're live so we can have more people that have joined us today. So if there's no more questions, then I think we'll just tie it up for today, and we'll keep you apprised of upcoming events. And, Andrea, please post your pictures. I would really love that. And yes, please come join some more of our events.